Welcome to Deep Look, Ultiworld's weekly podcast about the latest in the Ultimate world. It is Monday, October 21st. It is the Club Nationals preview show. Let's go. Keith Rayner, Charlie Eisenhood with you. I'm in San Diego already. I got in super late last night. San Diego Airport, one of the worst, Keith. I don't know why. It always seems to be a gigantic pain to get your bags and get away from there. And last night, my flight landed at like midnight, and I did not leave the airport until like 1:45 a.m. Like they closed the lanes to the Uber drivers. It was crazy. But anyway, I'm here, and I'm pumped up. Are you pumped up, Keith?
I am. I hope that when I arrive, because I also get in like after 11 something, I hope I don't have the same problems that you did. But I'm coming from, I just went to Maine for Lobster Pot, which is kind of a huge college tournament in the Northeast for fall college, like 60, 70 teams, food trucks, tourney, like a legit tourney central. It's actually kind of a vibe up there, but went with Wesleyan. And so I'm coming off like fall college preseason ultimate. And then the next weekend, I'm going to go watch the best of the best. Although I will say, shout out to whoever it was on MIT in our 5th place final, who had like a layout that would be as good as probably the best stuff we're going to see at Club Nationals. That was absolutely nasty. So shout out.
Okay. Keith is so ready for college season that he's talking about college during the Club Nationals preview show. Keith, hang on, man. We got club first. All right, let's get to what's next. We're going to do our trivia question of the week. Let's get to it.
All right, Charlie, this week's trivia question of the week, we have talked for years about how great semifinals is, right? And then often finals can feel like a bit of a dud. But is that true? Is that really what happens? We're gonna talk about that in our trivia question of the week. I want to know, over the past 3 seasons, what you think the average margin is for semis and for finals. The average margin of victory in semis and finals across all divisions for the past 3 seasons. What do you think?
For all semis and finals, average margin. You want me to guess them separately?
Just semis? Yeah, separately. Separate for semis and finals.
My guess is the average for semis is 2.9, and the average for finals is 3.4.
You're like a half point off for each of those. So it is 2.5 for semis and it's 3.9 for
That's
finals.
Pretty good.
I thought we might see a little larger gap, but I think there's. I went through these past 3 seasons. The only time that the final has had a smaller margin than the average of semis is men's division 2021, when there was a 1-point final and 2 15-8 blowouts in the semifinals. Every other instance, the semifinals has had a lower average score than the final margin of the final. So I think that this mostly holds, even if a goal and a half difference on the margin overall doesn't feel that large.
It's very interesting. Like, I feel like it's really easy to remember specific moments where, like, wow, what an amazing semifinal that was. And it just doesn't feel like we've had that many iconic finals. I mean, I think that's part of the problem. It's not just that the margins haven't necessarily been there. It's also been that even like the closer games haven't always been super exciting for one reason or another. So maybe this is the year that we're going to just get 3 amazing finals that like are unforgettable. Could happen. We have a lot of parity this year.
Let's just get bangers quarters through finals.
That's what I'm saying. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Well, it's time to make some picks and discuss everything. And to do that, we are excited to welcome in some friends from the Pod Practice podcast. Mikey Lunn, Quinn Finer, Alex Atkins joining us here on Deep Look. Guys, I very much enjoyed coming on your podcast. We're glad to have you here on Deep Look.
Thanks for having us.
To be here.
All right. Well, this is going to be fun times because we're going to talk about, of course, all of this Ultimate, but we're also going to make our picks. And we got to set some table stakes here, I think, for what's going to be the losing pod or person from the pod. What will be the punishment? This is a long-standing Deep Look tradition. We used to do this against In the Fields every year. So, Keith, I think you have some thoughts on what we should do. So why don't you break it down for us?
I do. I have some proposed stakes here. I think this came up back in like the U.S. Open, and it was an idea we had kind of floated around, but it really kind of solidified back in the U.S. Open. The losing team, somebody from the losing podcast, has to become a certified observer and observe an event. You have to not only go through the certification process. You got to go out in these streets, sling out some cards. You have to actually deliver. So you got to get certified and observe an event. I don't care what event it is. You can go to some high school tournament, just start banging out reds and blues everywhere. But I don't know how long your observer career will last at that rate. But the losing side's got to send someone to the observer academy, as it were.
How do you feel?
The fortunate part is if we do happen to lose, the best observer in the game, Freedom on 40, lives a block away from me. So he can give me some pointers.
Yeah, I think Mikey would.
So we decided we're only going to make it one person that has to do it. So we're not going to make the entire, losing pod have to become the observer. So y'all can decide internally how you want to.
We already know I'm the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, it's Mike.
That makes sense. I think we all knew that was coming. Keith, I think you and we're going head to head with our picks. So whoever, if we lose, then it's whoever comes out on the bottom end of that. All right. Well, let's start getting into it right now. First of all, really quickly, are you guys excited for nationals? And obviously, it's an exciting year. Bravo trying to win another championship.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. Get in Wednesday morning. So just looking forward to getting there and getting ready.
I think what's exciting about this one is just with the weird year regular season with Worlds, I just, not knowing really how the teams stack up against each other and not having seen it in a while is keeping me very excited.
That's actually something I was going to bring up is this year. We've been talking about it feels so open really in every division and maybe some questions about which divisions feel more or less open, how deep the contender pool goes. But I actually think part of it is we just feel like we know the teams less. They're with losing pro championships, having absences. It just feels like we don't know the team. So you really can't be sure exactly how good anybody is right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a fun watch, I think.
All right, well, it's time to get into our picks. We're going to start in the men's division. Makes sense. So we will take a look at we're going to be making quarters through finals picks, and of course, picking winners. I guess, are we going to stop in at all here on the pools? Do we want to talk a little bit about the pools and what's going to generate into pre-quarters? I guess I'll just give you guys the opportunity if you have some thoughts on the pools. Keith and I have already discussed this a decent amount on the show, but you could talk about your pool, what you see in the other pools. What's with the new, more randomized draw, things are a little more balanced than they have been in the past.
Yeah, definitely. And can I just preface this too with Mikey and Quinn did the bulk of the thinking on these picks, so I don't necessarily align with the pod practice picks completely. I don't want to be pigeonholed.
No,
but
come on.
No, don't come on me. We had Pavel on the pod the other day, and I had come in thinking our pool was the hardest pool, just because if you look at the seeding numbers, that's what that would say. But Pavel convinced us that actually it is pool A that is the most stacked, because Pavel thinks that Sockeye is actually very good, and so
Pavel said shades of 2022 Bravo with
that's
Sockeye
correct.
This year, so.
Yeah, so
that's high praise for Sockeye.
Yeah, it is. I think both of those pools will be pretty good, and the other two mostly have just two teams that seem to be a little bit above the other two.
Yeah, it does feel like the pool of men's teams this year is maybe a little bit bigger, that like of teams that can win it, maybe a little bit bigger than years past. But like we said with USA and Worlds tournaments, we're not entirely sure.
All right. Well, I guess really quick, I'll just note that, I have things mostly going sort of to general expectations. I think we're going to see Pony upset Sockeye, but lose to Machine in Pool A. I've got Dig over Ring in Pool B. I've got Bravo winning Pool C, Chain finishing second, Rhino third. And then I have Truck getting the upset, quote unquote upset, I suppose, over Revolver in Pool D. So that kind of sets up various things into pre-quarters. Keith, do you want to weigh in at all on your pool thoughts?
I think they're pretty interesting. I mean, if I had to like really solidify, I would not be shocked to see the three-way tie in Pool A. I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those teams, and even RDU's, like, I don't expect them to get a win because the pool's so tough, but it might be the toughest 4 seed. But I have a Ring also beating Dig to take their pool, so I have both Ring and Truck coming from the lower seeds to win their respective pools, and otherwise I have the mostly the top seeds advancing. But you'll see more in our quarters picks, I think, too.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and just take a look at these quarters picks. We've got, I think, everybody's picks listed right here, so we can take a look at them and then we'll discuss, where we agree, where we differ, why. So there's a look at everybody's. If you're watching on the YouTube,
subscribers are Sockeye. I love that.
Let's go, Sockeye.
So we got, I'll just run them down really quick if anybody's, because we got plenty of people who just listen on the audio side. I have, everyone has Machine. I'm trying to look at this in a way that is, these are just structured, I think, by their, like, the bracket. So everyone has Machine. Everyone has Rhino. Pod Practice, and subscribers have Chain. Keith does not. I think everybody has. Oh no, subscribers don't have Truck in quarters. Wow, old picks from the subscribers.
Subscribers
everyone has Revolver. Everyone has Bravo. Everyone has Pony. Everyone has Dig. I think the notable everyone has Rhino as well. So I think Chain is a little bit of a question mark spot. Keith did not pick Chain. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Chain's talent, but I just feel like we haven't really seen it this year, and maybe they're another team that's like, oh, we haven't really gotten to know what they're capable of. I think they're in a tough pool, and so if they finish third in their pool, they're going to have to play Ring or Dig, who I both think are good teams. Yes, I know Chain beat Ring at regionals, but in my bracket, I have Ring winning Pool B, so they're playing Dig in quarters. So I've Dig taking that game over Chain. I don't think that's too crazy of a take. So Chain finishing third, and if you have Ring beating Dig, like, I think it lines up so that Chain's in a really tough spot. And that's partially having a weak regular season, putting them in a spot where they were potentially going to be in a pool with like Bravo and Rhino.
I think you guys have Rhino beating Chain in pool play. Is that right?
Yeah, that was definitely a tough one. I think we haven't seen either team at full strength in a while. It's hard to deny Henry and Jack Hatchet and Rafi and just the athleticism piece. I think it's going to be a high flying game for sure with a lot of, big plays.
Rhino, the ceiling on Rhino is so high, but they're prone to having super sloppy games, at least in years past. And I think in the regular season this year, we've seen it, but the ceiling is so crazy. And I think they'll probably put together some pretty incredible games here.
I think I have the exact same quarters picks as you guys. I think the only differences are ordering in the pools. Looks like you have Revolver winning their pool, and I have Truck winning that pool. But then, like, we all have the same 8 teams. And then I guess, Keith, the only thing you have different, you have Ring and we don't. That's maybe the other big notable.
Yeah, I'm clearly the one that's high on Ring of Fire right now. That I think that definitely stands out in the way that the picks have laid out. I also am a little low on Dig, so that's another part of the equation that I think is helping boost Ring overall. But I think the regionals is going to prove to be a blip for a Ring team that's like been a little bit incomplete, but I think they're going to come together really well at nationals, just like they did last year when everybody I think was kind of ready to count them out as being a middling team. They showed up to nationals and they played really well. They're young, they're talented, they were like ready to hand the keys over. I think they're a very complete team as well.
They gave us one of our toughest games at Pro Champs for sure. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we should have lost that game. We were down 11-8. Their Fairfax is unguardable. So it's hard to pick for us to pick against Ring. And we actually really like those guys, but it seemed
you have them losing
like a fun
to
we have them losing
Chain?
to Chain in pre-quarters, a regional rematch.
A rematch. Yeah, I'm in the same spot. I have Chain. I have Rhino losing to Chain in pools, and so it would be Rhino Ring pre-quarter. I mean, I think almost regardless that 2-3, whoever finishes second in pool B, probably dig a Ring, and then whoever finishes, in the third spot in pool C, which is going to probably be a really good team, then that's going to be a very tough pre-quarter for somebody. Like there's going to be a great team that gets left out of quarters. I think these picks kind of indicate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like Truck Stop, according to the subscribers. Shout out Zach, our men's division subscriber picker.
Who the heck is subscribing to Ultiworld and taking these picks, man? We need to get some more knowledgeable people subscribing, or at least they like the underdog. I do think what's going to blow this kind of like these picks up is I think the ordering of Pool A will be very chaotic. I don't know. I think that's going to be like the most exciting pool. Sure.
What's your if you had to pick it, since you already gave the caveat that you don't necessarily agree with the picks, if you were to pick Pool A, which is Machine, Sockeye, Pony, and RDU, how do you think that shakes out?
I do. Maybe it's just wanting an upset, but I think Pony is going to win the pool,
the whole pool,
and beat Machine. And then after that, I think Machine, Sockeye, RDU. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if like Pony beats Machine, Sockeye beats Pony, and RDU beats Sockeye. Like some crazy just stuff like that. And it goes into these like weird tie breaks and all that kind of stuff.
We've seen it before. I agree. That's going to be a very interesting pool because Pony is so. I feel like I don't know what to expect from them. They kind of got beat pretty bad by Dig at regionals. It was 15-11. And yet, they have 12 national team players on their team. So like, I don't really know what to make of that.
They were missing some people at regionals too. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I Dig may have been as well. I don't know, but
I have a quick thing I want to bring in before we move on, just to get some quick thoughts on this. Let me find it. Might have been to my mailbag account. Here it is. So Zane sent in an email to the Deep Look at ultiworld.com inbox, and his basic idea, and I'm not going to read the whole email because it's kind of long, but his idea is that the team with the best players isn't winning consistently in the men's division. And his point is that it comes down more to a team playing the best at a given time. And it kind of points out, Pony has a defensive strategy in 2018 designed to beat Revolver, and it works, and they win. And then Sockeye has the best offense in 2019. And then in 2021, Ring has the best offense, and no one's able to figure out how to take away the small ball stuff. And then obviously Bravo wins in 2022. Zane attributes it to the force middle defense that gave a lot of trouble to teams. And then, Truck with its really high level offense winning last year. Do you guys buy that? Does that sound right to you? Or do you think it does come down to talent at the end of the day?
I don't think it does come down to talent. I mean, all the teams are the top 8, top 9 teams. Really every team right at nationals is crazy talented. I do think Pony has been the most talented team over the last few seasons, roster-wise. Maybe not this year. I might give that to Machine from just a roster depth, but it's how you put the pieces together and how you come to. I think Zane's absolutely right, and a lot of it's culture, a lot of it's scheme, and you just have to play well at the right time. And we talk about this all the time. The margins are so thin. There's any number of games that we could have won or lost at nationals over the last few years that, you think about the Ring championship year, they almost lost that pool play game to Revolver, and Tom Doy just turned over that lefty backhand in the goal line. Like, if they lose that game, they have just a way harder path to finals. So,
right,
you never know. That's why you got to play the game.
Yeah, and I think like when people think of talented players, they think of like big plays and flashy stuff. But I think like a big part of talent is being able to like play in a system and a part of a team doing the little things consistently, and it's underrated, that part of it.
Well, and let's keep in mind, Truck survived a strip call in quarters that would have knocked them out, and they should have lost. I mean, that's not even in dispute. So, like, that changes the narrative about last year, certainly, if that ends up going the other way.
Yeah, the margins are thin.
Anything else to comment on here? Pretty similar picks overall. All right, let's go on. Let's go to semis. This is where the rubber meets the road. Semis picks time. Here we go. Machine, Truck. We all agree. Top side of the bracket. We've all got the same group. Subscribers have Chain and Revolver on that side of the bracket. Then I have Revolver and Dig. Keith has Bravo and Ring. Pod Practice has Bravo and Dig, and the subscribers have Machine and Dig. So a lot of variance here. I guess let's maybe comment first on the Machine Truck picks. Why did you guys decide that you wanted to send those teams forward into semis?
You want to go?
Yeah, I think Truck is a pretty easy pick here with the way they've played in the regular season. Besides the tournament, they were missing half their roster, half their O-line, a lot of, guys that drive the ball in their D-line. So Truck is pretty easy for me here. And I think the talent and depth of Machine can take them very, very far. We've seen them kind of struggle in second and third days of tournaments in years past, but last year they got the experience in semis and finals, and I think this year is the year they put together a really good nationals. But Truck seems easy for me, but and honestly, same with Machine. Machine seems like an easy pick for me too.
I agree. Keith, you have thoughts from your side?
I have Machine and Dig, and I'm still not really that high on Dig, and I definitely don't like them in a matchup against a Machine team that I think is really well organized, which is not where I think Dig is going to be their strongest. And Truck, I have them up against Rhino, and I think Rhino is just is not well suited to defend Truck. I think that Rhino is going to be great at taking away like high power cutters and playing high variance offense. And I just think Truck is really well suited to be like, oh, we don't have to focus. Yeah, maybe you've got a great answer for box. We don't need box. We can go through one of the 3 or 4 other guys, or we could just run it through our handlers if they have to. So I think Truck is a tough matchup for Rhino. So I have both those teams advancing, and I feel pretty confident about it. I mean, they're obviously 2 of the best teams, most talented and experienced teams. I think we're proven on that point.
I straight up think they are the 2 best teams. And I think that, it's a little bit of pro champs maybe that has them meeting in semis. But I think like just on, you look at what they've done over the last couple of years, you look at the skill we've seen from them when they've been at full strength this season, you look at the talent on the roster, I think they're the straight up 2 best teams. So I think kind of easy, I agree, to pick those teams through to semis here. So let's talk about the other side of the bracket where we're like on different pages. I don't have Bravo making it through. So let me what
the hell,
I have Revolver getting the upset, which I think would be a pretty big surprise. I haven't I don't have that many surprises picked across the divisions, but I feel like this year's Revolver team is finally back to the point where I think they're ready to like make a push back to semis. Now, whether that's going to be the matchup that they end up with, they have the game against Truck and pool play. There's lots of things that could be a mix. Honestly, I think it's going to be an extremely close game if that's what we get. I don't know. You guys have probably played Revolvers this year, so I'd love for your thoughts on this.
Revolvers 2-1 against Bravo right now.
Although there you go. When I looked at when I was looking back at matchups and stuff, that was one of the things I was looking at, obviously with all the caveats for Worlds players and stuff. So anyway, yeah, I just think Revolver and Michael Ing and I just think that they've like finally gotten their young guys to the point where they're ready to compete at the high level again. And it's been a few years. They've kind of been out in the wilderness since they lost to Tony back in 2018.
We talked to Leo Gordon last, and I will say that all of us are super impressed with and adding him is huge. I think. All of our games have been close, even though we had a no turn game against them in semis of Pro Champs, but it was a very competitive game. I think it was it 8-7.5 maybe. Well, I guess you weren't there, Quinn.
I wasn't
there. Yeah, of course we're going to take ourselves over Revolver.
Of course.
Yeah, I think their pickups this offseason, like sneaky. I don't even know if it's sneaky, like very good. Adding Mac Heck to like probably one of the best pure throwers in the game today. Leo Gordon is an amazing all-around player. Jason Valley on D is a huge pickup for them as well. And just the way they play D has given us trouble in this season and in seasons past. It does seem like when we play them in games that are maybe a little bit more high stakes, we kind of figure it out and put it together, but they're definitely a very, very solid team. And I don't think it would be that insane for them to, quote unquote, upset us, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I think they'll do great in pool play. Totally agree.
And then they'll run into the Bravo buzzsaw. Keith, you've got Bravo. Why'd you take Bravo, and who did you have as their quarters matchup?
I had Bravo versus Revolver. Although in my first drafts, like I had Sockeye beating Revolver in pre-quarters, but ultimately I just looked at the Revolver roster and it's like I think they've been too good this year. Sockeye's a little too green, but Bravo has the defensive chops and the offensive athleticism, I think, to withstand a pretty smart Revolver team. So I'm taking Bravo. I've kind of come out as the fact that I had to relent. Bravo got me too many times, right? We have them losing to Dark Star. It didn't work out that way. So I'm on the Revolver on the Bravo bandwagon now.
That was so bad.
Yeah, you owe us one. You owe us one.
This will be me and Shrimp next year. Next year I'll be like I doubted Shrimp in 2024, but in 2025 I'm on the Shrimp bandwagon.
I
wouldn't be upset if Sockeye. If Sockeye did upset some teams, I'd be happy because they do have a couple of current Mama Bird guys on that team.
Yeah. I'm bummed at the subscribers for not rolling with Sockeye into semis.
Yeah,
I thought, if you're gonna pick it, like let's just go. Let's keep it going. And the one thought I have on Machine, I agree with you guys that they are very talented and stuff, but at Pro Champs, when obviously everyone was missing a lot of people, but they were still had Joe, and they were missing less than a lot of the other teams comparatively. They were missing more like international guys. Like they were missing Nate, but they were missing Malik and Desmarais. And they lost to a dig team missing a lot of people. And so I just think they are prone to not performing at some times. And I think last year they got hot and made it to finals and had a good year. But I'm not so in on the Machine.
Kids machine. Kids can't.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way for sure.
Kids Machine beef extends.
It's not even beef. I'm looking at the numbers. How are we losing to Dig when Dig is missing?
They barely lost to Dig.
And
that was a weird game.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah,
all I will say is Oje Sama, Desmarais, and Goff are
pretty darn good players.
Talented players
No
who
doubt.
make a
No
big
doubt.
difference for their team. I feel like in some ways, I honestly wonder, do people Oje Sama is arguably a top 10 guy in the division right now. I've been so impressed by him. And he was obviously fantastic for Canada at Worlds. And I don't know, how good is Desmarais? I think there's there are a lot of questions for Machine at Nationals. Are they going to put it all together? Is Joe going to be the dude? Number one in the top 25 on Ulti World Club Players this year. So a lot of pressure, I think, on a team that feels like the championship window might start to close if they don't win this year. I feel like they're going to have some guys retire and things like that because they kind of had to get everybody back together for this season after last year. So it's curious. We'll get to our finals picks in just a moment. Keith, you got Ring. Who do you have Ring beating, Keith?
I have Ring beating Pony in quarters.
Ooh, that's a fun rematch. I would love to see
that. I think those two teams would be really excited to play each other. I think the Ponies offense just is not what people remember or recall about this team. And they've been able to make the recipe for success for Pony was having an offense they were incredibly confident in. And so they could spend a lot of time focusing on creating really deep, frenetic defensive lines, and having to move some of their D-line talent to offense has hurt their ability to keep those D-lines so dangerous. And, they really had that ethos of hey, our offense is all these stars and our D-line is this kind of faceless army. And we'll just send two different D-lines at you and we can beat you up that way. And I just don't think they have that same identity anymore. And Ring is clean. They've got some really dangerous offensive weapons. And I think, Durs is going to be someone who could be a real problem for a Ring for Pony. Pony has a couple of guys who, they're going to be able to put Gibran out there and Antoine. But, I think that there's too many different ways for a Ring to attack between Fairfax and Durs and AD. They've got a lot of different ways to come at you. Dameron, Rutledge Smith. It's just a tough matchup, I think, for Pony.
You're selling me, Keith.
I don't know. I think Pony has some of the best matchup defenders there are. If they can roll out a D-line with Twan, Cam, Gibran, Schlor. I think JR,
yeah,
JSN, if they can roll out a really strong D-line like that, I do think they're prone to maybe leaning into that a little too much and playing maybe a little bit too much just hard person defense. And that's just a hard thing to do in today's game all the time. But as far as matchup defenders go, they might have some of the best in the game right now. They certainly do.
Weird team. So good on paper, not performing well on the field.
I know there was a joke in the YouTube chat that every time Charlie talks about how many Worlds players they're on Pony, the number goes up, and he's gonna end up with they have 30 Worlds players. Yeah. At some point, does this have a negative impact on the team? When half of your team is missing large chunks of the season, is that going to impact your ability to design a really cohesive team? I get that they're maybe the oldest, most experienced team overall, so maybe that is mitigated by that fact. But when you have a bunch of guys who are missing practices, missing tournaments, I think that's going to hurt your ability to really come together as a group.
Yeah, if we played on paper, that'd be really good for Pony.
I got Dig playing Pony in quarters, and I'm just looking at what happened at regionals. That's all I really feel I need to know. I feel there's also some weird, Jeff Babbitt lives in everybody's head in New York right now.
Right.
Now he's playing for Dig. So that's a tough thing to deal with. He's incredibly talented
out there.
Yep. You guys keep track of all the Colorado guys. That's good.
Oh yeah.
We know where they're at.
Calvin's gonna have a big tournament.
All right, let's move on. It's time to take our look at our finals picks. Do we all agree on the top side of the bracket? No, we sure didn't. All All right, so I've got Machine and Dig. Keith's got Truck and Bravo. Pod Practice also has Truck and Bravo. And the subscribers have Revolver and Machine. Subscribers is out here with some wild picks. Although if Revolver goes all the way to finals, I feel like it's good for my bracket.
It's just Revolver. That's the. I guess Jake making sense is pretty wild. Zach, you're delivering some heat for us.
Machine versus Truck. We got to get to the other division, so I want to kind of keep it moving here. But two great teams, rematch. Obviously, Truck did well last year. Do you see that game playing out similarly, Keith, as it did last time?
Yeah, I do. I think that Truck's offense is going to be the target. Everybody is aiming for Truck's offense, and we've seen that is how teams that look unbeatable one year come back the next year, and it's a problem. Everybody's been studying your tape. Everybody's trying to figure out, how do we stop the thing that you're doing? Everybody's trying to emulate what you're doing, so they're learning more about it. You got all these Truck guys who, they're taking the offense to the Worlds team. You think all the guys on those World teams aren't bringing that stuff back? Like, be like, oh, this is how they're hitting those inside windows. This is how we can try and stop those. Teams are going to be trying to cover up those lanes more. So Truck is going to have to find another angle of attack. I think it's going to be a little more challenging for them. But I can't quite shape. It's going to be scheme for Machine, because I don't think that they match up with Truck's O-line just 7-on-7 and win. I just don't. It's going to have to be scheme for them. So I think that the Machine O-line has what it takes, and I think ultimately that the matchup's like pretty close to a coin flip. I don't begrudge anybody who would take Machine to get this upset here, given the experience that they have playing against Truck. But I got to side with the team that's had the cleanest offense, and I think also has a tremendous defense. We can never lose sight of the fact that this Truck defense has as many great names as we were just listed for Pony. I mean, they're stacked on the D-line. So I think Truck can weather the storm, even if it's a tougher road than it was in the bracket last year for them.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Truck at Nationals, their offense has sort of been tapered the last couple of years, where I do think people tend to figure it out a little bit, but they are just so talented, and I think they're better this year. I think Jacques has leveled up too. Like, he's just so incredible.
Johnny leveled up too, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
To level up from where he was at.
With what I'm thinking a lot of is how efficient Truck's D-line O is, and how high variance Machine's O can be. So I just feel like they're going to have enough chances to get breaks, that being Truck's top D-line, and AJ and Thomas, if they can stop them from shooting deep to Musa and Alex and all their speedy little receivers, then they have a shot. But I just think Truck is really dialed this year, aside from the time they didn't have their players.
My thought is basically that these are the two best teams. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a close game. But I think it's hard, as we've seen historically, for teams to maintain the level that is required to win a championship over
it's really hard.
More than one season. Like it, and we haven't had a repeat winner in almost 15 years now. So, I think there's a reason for that. It's not that the team, is getting way worse. And certainly you wouldn't say that about Truck. Truck probably still has the best offense in the division when they're at full strength. But I think, as we've been talking a little bit about, like, missing a lot of guys for Worlds, and I mean, Truck's offense was completely decimated for Pro Champs because they had their whole roster overplaying for the U.S. men's national team. I think it's really hard to maintain that level and focus, especially when you're playing against a team like Machine that is literally spend an entire year thinking about how they're going to beat you the next time they get to see you at Nationals. So I will not be surprised with either outcome, but that's why I pick Machine. I think this is the year for Machine to finally put it all together. They've got the right pieces. They've got the right approach. I mean, I've always loved their defense. They've been playing great defensive schemes for years. I hear what you're saying, though. Like, it is a high variance team. They go through stretches of terrible play, or just like shooting hucks out the back a bunch in a row. And if they do that against Truck, they will get crushed, right? They'll probably lose like 15-9. But I just think that they are going to have the right answers defensively And, Truck may just find that it's really, really hard to repeat. So that's kind of my thinking there. On the other side of the bracket, I've got Dig getting past Revolver. That was my semis matchup. Ultimately, I just think Dig's a great team. And, unless they catch the wrong team at the wrong time, I think they have a really good chance to make the finals. I like them. I like their matchup a lot against Revolver. And so that was not that tough a pick compared to the top side of the bracket. You both had Bravo Keith had him over Ring, and did you guys have him over Pony? Sorry, I already forget what the...
Over Dig.
Over Dig. Okay, so, you guys want to just weigh in quickly on your thoughts on Bravo?
Well, we're Bravo, so...
We're Bravo.
I do
Go
think,
Bravo.
In the matchup with Dig specifically.
We already beat him once. No, just kidding. I am really high on Dig, and I love all the talent that they have. I think they're like one of those teams that gets me really excited to see what they're going to do at Nationals, just because they got the tough truck draw at U.S. Open in pre-quarters, so they went out early, and then they did well at Pro Champs, and then they're adding all these new players. So I do love the talent there. I just got a lot of confidence in the guys over here on Bravo. Think we're poised for a big tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, 2 sentences.
I think we've had.
Oh, go ahead.
I think we've had the best defensive schemes for the past couple of years, and I don't think that's changed. And I think our talent has just gotten deeper on the defensive side of the ball, and I think we're going to put some really, really clean games together on offense too, and combine that with our defensive schemes. I think it's going to be a lot over a tournament, over a game.
Quinn kind of beat me to the point. I mean, I think that the Bravo defense is super athletic, and they've been trending in the right direction from an intelligence standpoint. You've got some great leaders like Chance Cochran on that side of the ball. Nut, and I am number one fan of Noah Kuhlman right now. However they decided to play him, if he gets out on some defensive points, the guy's going to make stuff happen. So I'm big on Bravo's ability to get here.
Best defender in the world.
There we go. There's a take. Let's get to our finals picks. Who they are? Who's champions picks? There it is. I've got Machine. Keith and Pod Practice taking Bravo. Subscribers take Machine. Keith and the Pod Boys riding with Bravo.
Yeah, let's go, Keith.
Keith righting the wrongs after the Dark Star.
Yeah, I don't think I thought much of y'all in 2 years ago either. So I've had to hold one here, almost purely on. I mean, obviously, like people have seen my top 25 rankings. I think very highly of the two guys we have on the show here, as well as Mikey is schemed really well for this team. But beyond them, like Grant's playing really well. I think Nutt's in a great place as well. You've got the young guys who have really, I think, look a lot more seasoned. Jarvis is another really tremendous defender. We didn't mention him when we were talking about Noah Kuhlman. So I think that there's, between the athleticism and the schemes on defense and enough offensive talent. Like, I don't know that the offense is like the most disciplined, like high execution bunch, but there's so much talent there that like they also have the ability to get the ball back. The offensive guys are mostly pretty two-way. So I think that that's going to give their O-line a little bit of insulation. So I like Bravo a lot.
Thanks, Keith.
A rematch of the finals from 2 years ago. And look, you guys have been able to give Truck problems. Why do you think that you specifically have defensive ability to cause Truck problems in the past?
I think Truck's offense is built a lot around continuing flow and, using the break side, hitting small breaks that turn into big breaks. And I think our defensive schemes have kind of been founded on, disconnecting them, stopping flow, even if it's just for a second, to kind of throw their rhythm off and make them maybe hit a negative pass, hit a reset it, as opposed to hitting something leading upfield and to the break side. So I think we're just kind of good at disconnecting them a bit.
Sounds right. I mean, we saw them struggle, like hit that little shallow break off the front of the stack against you guys. I've got Machine over Dig. We've seen that matchup a bunch this season. I think we're going to get it again. And I just think this is Machine's year. I feel like we've seen them look the best that they've looked, and they've had a good team over the past couple of years. So
I'm giving them reluctantly be happy for Pavel.
That's right.
I don't know, man. You speak for yourself, Mikey.
Okay, I'll speak for myself.
All right, we're going to move on now to the women's division. First, let's take a look at the pools. This has been an interesting one because, like, sitting down and looking at these pools, I was like, I don't really know where to pick upsets. Like, there's just not a lot of spots where you can find obvious upsets. I do have Molly beating Brute in pool play. I'm sure the pod practice guys are going to pick that too. Keith, I think you've taken Brute, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the inflection point, I feel like, in the women's division. It's pretty easy to talk yourself into the top seeds in every other pool, but I think it's a lot harder here at what feels like a coin flip matchup. So yeah, I'm taking Brute.
Otherwise, yeah, I think I have Grit over Iris. That's my only other upset pick in pool play.
That's spicy, Charlie. That's spicy.
Yeah, I know. That's big stuff, right? Otherwise, I just think like a lot of the drama in this division is going to be contained to the bracket. Do you guys? I don't know if you went through your pools in full, but do you have any big upset picks?
Let's see. I'm looking at our pre-quarters. Not a ton. Molly, just basically Molly over Brute is what we have. I think is all.
Yeah. I mean, I think the easy answer is that they're Molly, but why do you like them in that matchup? A game that's happened like what feels like at every Nationals going back like 10 years at this point.
The Twins.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think they have.
That's a good answer.
I think they just have some of the best players in the world, and that ranking is just based on a tournament where all of those players
and Bob Cryer. I'll say that.
And we love Bob. That's a good point, Mikey. We love Bob.
Coach Bob is going to be bringing it.
All right. Well, let's get into our quarters picks. Let's take a look at what everybody picked, including the subscribers. And here we go. Everyone's got Fury and Bent. Brute and Phoenix for everybody except Keith, of course, who picked the Molly in that spot. So Riot and Molly for me and the subscribers. Pod Practice taking Molly and Traffic. And Keith has Brute and Traffic there. So that's just that flip-flop of Brute and Molly. And then we all go with Scandal and Flipside. Yes. So not a ton of differentiation. I guess maybe the biggest one there is I've got Riot through. You both have Traffic through. Thoughts on why Traffic?
For us, it sounded fun. Yeah, it sounded fun to have an upset in there.
I'm pretty high on this Riot team, actually. I feel like they're a similar story to Sakai, where it's like they're young and like now getting good, and they might be better than we expect them to be. Right. But it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that they lose to Traffic. I mean, we've seen that over the last couple of years. Traffic's been the better team much of the time. But Keith, you have Traffic as well. You're not buying the Riot hype.
Both of these teams are not super consistent, and they've played a couple times this year. The most recent being a pretty sizable win for Riot at regionals. Traffic got 2 other wins, but all the way back at PEC, so like forever ago. Plus, you have all the national team stuff with affecting the Traffic roster over the course of the season. We've been waiting. Like maybe I was too far ahead on Riot a couple years ago, like thinking, oh, this team's super young. This talent's going to grow over the course of the season. And like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm done waiting. So I think that the team that they are is mostly where they're at, and they are still super young. Yet they have a couple vets around, but they're still delivering the disc through a lot of less experienced players, which is Traffic is getting there. Obviously, Traffic still has some vets in very big roles, but they are starting to turn over this roster to some of the younger players. And I like both of these teams are deep. They're fairly inconsistent, but I think I'm going to ride with the more experienced unit when they come head to head at nationals.
I think that you're tired of waiting. Well, yeah, you don't have to wait anymore because they're good now. So that's why we're going to see them. They beat Traffic 15-11 at regionals. Like, if they get the rematch, I really like them to win that game again. I mean, I think a 5-point swing feels unlikely to me, but we'll see. Otherwise, I don't really know that I have a ton to comment on this round. The top teams have really separated themselves throughout the year. And I think, besides that Riot Traffic kind of like marginal pick, we all have the same other top teams. And it's really going to come down to how we start thinking about these semis picks. So let's take a look. What did we take for semis? Anybody got some spicy upsets? Let's take a look. I've got Fury and Brute. Keith has Fury and Molly. Pod Practice has Fury and Phoenix. I've got Molly and Scandal on the other side of the bracket. Keith has Brute and Scandal, and Pod Practice also has Molly and Scandal. Subscribers taking Fury, Brute, Molly, flip side. So the flip side pick there, kind of certainly an upset pick. So everybody's in agreement on Fury and between us anyway on Scandal. So let's focus on those other spots. Phoenix, I want to start there. You've got Phoenix getting the win against presumably Brute Squad in that quarterfinal.
Yeah.
And this is a really interesting game. I mean, Phoenix is probably as good as they've ever been. Brute Squad has had sort of an up and down year, but we know what they've done in the past when they've had up and down years. They've showed up to nationals and looked fantastic. So why'd you guys go with Phoenix here? And just thoughts on that matchup.
We just love those North Carolina people. That's one thing.
We do. We're big Lindsay Sue fans.
I do think it's a little bit of what you mentioned with Truck as well, being hard to, put it together multiple years in a row. And I think Phoenix is, like you said, looking really strong all year and going to put together a really strong game. And pressure is going to be on for Brute, and it's going to be Phoenix.
Yeah, I think the success at the college level is going to start to, pan out at the club level. And yeah, we were a little biased too, just knowing Sue's on Phoenix. So that's a little connection to why not root for them to beat Brute in quarters.
Should be a great game. I mean, Keith, you have Molly beating Phoenix, right? In your bracket?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
So that's a different matchup altogether.
Yeah, it is, but I think the problem to me is mostly still the same, which is that I think Phoenix has two-pronged issues. One, I think they get in their own heads playing against the top teams. They've scored a couple upsets over the years, but I think they have a little bit of like a little sister syndrome going on, and it's caused them to have some really rough outings at nationals in some of these big matchups. The other thing is that I think that they've been impacted between injuries and absences for Worlds and things like that. I think it's going to hurt their chemistry, and I think they really play their best when they are very much all on the same page. There's a lot of talent on the team, but I think that they thrive in an environment where they have really tremendous chemistry that unlocks some of the talent that you get from years of experience from these college players playing together. And I think that when you have those subgroups a little more divided and a little less connected, it's going to be hard for them to maximize on the talent in the same way that I think some of these, the likes of Brute Squad and Molly Brown are a little more seasoned at having the groups be separate and then come together and play their best at nationals. I mean, how many times have we seen Brute Squad do that? Molly Brown's been bringing in international talent as well for years. So I think those groups, those teams are going to be a little better at executing on that at nationals. So that's why I have Molly Brown taking out Phoenix.
Lindsay Sue, our producer in the chat, pointing out that Keith and I are haters. All right, let's look at the other side of the bracket. I guess who doesn't have Brute? Pod Practice has Brute losing to Phoenix, and then we otherwise agree there. Yeah, I don't know. Like for me, Scandal and Molly, just the quality of the rosters and what we've seen from them this year is just too high not to pick them. I thought that was easy picks, frankly, against Flipside and Riot, respectively, in my bracket. I think for me, clearly the Brute Phoenix one is the toughest. I do want to give one quick second. Does Bent have a chance against Fury? None of us have that picked. Heath, do they have a hope?
A slim. I would feel better in, I think, literally any other matchup. That's the one. I think they would have a higher percentage chance of upsetting any of the other top 4 seeds. Like they are super talented, but Fury's just a team that's so hard to shake. And I think that the other Molly Brown, Brute, Scandal, I think those teams are a little more likely to get the weak in the knees if you're starting to give them a good run in the first half. I just think Fury just doesn't crack that way. They're too experienced. There's seasoned vets, and they've got this kind of aura around them from being on Fury. So I think that this is like the worst case matchup for Bent. Because I was kind of curious. You beat me to the question. I wanted to know, like, is anybody considering Bent or Flipside, aside from the subscribers, Jalal representing the subscribers getting the Flipside upset? I was curious if anybody would have considered an upset, even if they didn't end up picking one for Bent or Flipside.
I'm much closer to considering it for Flipside than for Bent. I just think the matchup's brutal for Bent. I mean, the depth of Fury is just too much for that Bent to be overcome. I think Bent's best chances for making a run, they got to beat Scandal in pool play and win that pool. That's really the ticket. Yeah. I think if they don't do that, they're just going to be capped out at quarters. And I think they're a really good team, but it's in fact, I actually think they have a better chance of beating Scandal in pool play than they do of beating Fury in quarters if it comes to that. So Flipside, I think Flipside might be. I have them losing to Scandal, but mostly just because Scandal, I think, is that good. But that game could be 15-14. Like, I think Flipside is really good. They if they had, scored one more point against Fury and won the region in the Southwest, how would people be feeling about them versus what they sort of, everybody's image of them is that like, oh, they're like pretty good. Well, I think they actually might be really good now. And they've just like not been better than Fury. And they haven't really played that much off the West Coast. So like, there's not that much, data points against the East Coast teams. But I don't know. I won't be shocked if they make semis. I like the subscriber bold pick there. All right, let's go to the finals. Let's take a look. Who's everybody taking to the finals? I've got Fury and Scandal. Keith has Molly and Scandal. The subscribers have Fury and Molly, and Pod Practice has Phoenix and Molly. I don't believe I've ever seen anything like this, which is that there are completely different winner picks for every picker in the women's division for Club Nationals. I mean, for years and years, you would just pencil in, for a while it was Fury Riot, and then it was, Fury Scandal, and then it was Molly Fury, and like here we are with completely different picks. I'll Pod Practice guys, I'll let you go first. Phoenix and Molly. Phoenix making the run to finals, huh?
Yeah, why not? I'm looking at my written down bracket, and there's so many scribble marks that but I did what I sent to Sue. The latest version, they have correct. Phoenix and Molly. Yeah, I mean, Fury is a shoe-in for semis every year, in my opinion. But they have missed out on finals every once in a while, and that North Carolina charm, I think that they have a shot, and why not pick something a little different?
Keith, Molly, so your picks were, you have Molly over Fury and Scandal over Brute. Couple thoughts on each of those games and why you have those picks going that way.
I mean, Fury to semis is generally like kind of a lock, but once they get there, they've had some real toss-up matchups. I think that the magic of Fury doesn't extend all the way to finals like it used to, and Molly Brown does seem to play their best down the stretch. They have some ruts that they get into, but this version of the team that's built around Manu and Vale and Claire Chastain and hopefully a healthy Lisa P, like this version of the team, I think has figured out how to deliver down the stretch. I think that Fury's depth relies on their new younger players continuing to play as well as they did in the regular season, and I'm just not sure that that was sustainable. So I think that the depth that Fury has typically relied on will not be as present at these big games at nationals, and that's going to make it hard for them to use what has been their greatest strength to try and take down Molly Brown. So I like Molly Brown's top end to take over the game over Fury's depth.
I mean, I don't think there's any question that like Molly has the best top 3 or whatever, however big you want to make that number. I mean, I think the question really is like, do they have enough time playing together this season? And, are they going to run it back? Those teams played in the finals of PEC West. Molly won 14-12. And we didn't see them play again. I think they just missed each other at US Open. Molly ended up losing. When did they lose? They lost to Scandal 15-11 in semis there. I feel like it's such a coin toss. I mean, I don't know. I just think that like Anna Nazarov is playing maybe some of the best ultimate of her career right now. She was so fantastic for the national team.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Thompson, unbelievable. Scazieri, such a great goal scoring threat. I am a little worried. I guess I would say I was worried coming into the season that Fury was getting a little too long in the tooth, but they have just like plugged in a bunch of new players, some of which I had not even heard of, who have just been awesome right away. And it's like classic Fury. I think the experience they have and the level of defense that they can bring is a real challenge for other teams to deal with. If Molly's hitting everything on offense and playing at the kind of the highest level they're capable of, I think they're going to win the whole thing. But I'm not counting on that. I just don't know that they've had enough time to kind of like get into the rhythm. So we'll see. I think it should be a tremendous game. Scandal is our picks on the other side. I think it's pretty straightforward, Keith. I mean, they've just been an awesome team. I just like their matchup against Brute.
Yeah, and I dropped the analysis of Marie Prouvier for those who haven't caught that on our YouTube. I think that she is going to be the third piece to go with Cammie and Claire Trope, and then I think that the rest of their roster has taken a step forward, particularly like Allie Wallace, Amanda Beats Murphy. I feel like those players have really stepped up. They add Raha this year, so I think their depth has filled out in a nice way to support those players. So I think that this is going to be a high watermark for Scandal when they come up against a Brute.
All right, let's take a look at our winners picks. I've got Fury, Keith's got Scandal, Pod Practice has got Molly, and the subscribers have Fury. I'm not shocked to see the Molly pick, and I don't even think you necessarily need to be homers to make the Molly pick. Do you genuinely think they're going to win it all?
Yeah, why not?
I actually do. I think, like we talked about, probably the best top 3. And sure, they haven't played a lot together this season, but it's the same top 3 from top 4, top 5, top 6 from years past. They've played a lot together historically, and I think they're gonna start hitting a lot of stuff at nationals, and it's just gonna come together for them on offense and put together some really clean bracket play. And if you see Molly as your matchup in finals, like I don't think anybody wants to see them as the matchup in finals, because they have just such a high ceiling for a incredible offensive and full game. So I legitimately do think Molly is my favorite.
Yeah, for me, I'm way less concerned about them not having played together that much this season, and more worried that they may have just played too much individual players. The Twins traveling everywhere to play every major tournament, and a lot of miles on Claire, a lot of miles on Lisa P. So that's my bigger concern than the chemistry piece.
What do you say, Kins?
I hit the camera button instead of the mic button. I do think Molly is the best.
Peace.
I know we don't talk about we were talking about the talent and or the team winning the tournament, but I just think like Manu and Valet are so high above the rest of other players that their ability to just win points individually, if they are playing well and the team, is playing well around them. I watched what they do, like with Colombia at Worlds against like and obviously that team has lots of other players as well, but so does Molly. And I just think their ability to like raise the level of the team they're on, I do have them as my favorites. Both as people and as a team.
Their ability to get the disc back as an offensive line is probably second to none as well. Like it's top. Like we see them make some of the craziest plays of the tournament every time they're out there. So
yeah, we actually talked to Claire Trope about the Manu as a defender, and when Manu has to play a ton, I think Manu has her defense. Her defensive quality lowers, but I think for Molly, she just won't have to shoulder that kind of load.
Yeah, like compared to the Colombia national team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, interesting. Keith, you did not agree. You picked Scandal.
It was really tough. I mean, at the risk of making the case against myself, I know obviously Manu, Bale, I feel like I'm one of Coach Chastain's like number one fans. Like I know the top end of this team is really exciting, but we should not neglect down the roster, Kendra Mitchell, Alika Johnston, Ronnie Eater, Blaise Sevier is awesome. Like I think this team is definitely super talented. But I think Scandal is a good matchup for them and has some of the top end talent to go up against the top end of this team. And then I mentioned the way that their depth has really taken a step forward. And I think that this matchup is extremely close. And I think that Scandal is going to be, in the same way that I said that Truck is the style that people are attacking, I think Molly Brown is setting that pace in the women's division. I think people are trying to figure out, how do we stop what the Twins do? How do we stop Molly Brown when they're on the run? And so I think that Scandal is going to have a really strong game plan. They've got a smart coaching staff. They got an experienced team, and they're going to be hyper-focused after the way last year went. So I like the combination of top-end talent, of depth, and of schemes from Scandal, when I think that those are very close on all three counts for both teams, and Scandal might have a little extra motivation to get there.
Matchups. Scandal is 2-0 against Molly this season. 15-11 at US Open, 15-10 at Pro Champs. Yes, I know, Pro Champs, not that telling, but Scandal has had Molly's number. On the other side, I don't have Scandal winning. I have Fury. Why? Well, Scandal's 0-2 against Fury this year. They lost twice at US Open, 14-12 and 15-11. I think a lot of it comes down to who sees who when. And, obviously their teams are going to be different than they were in the beginning of August. But I just think that there's a lot of opportunity for different teams to win this tournament, depending on how the bracket shakes out and if there's any upsets along the way. So we're going to keep it rolling right now. We're going to go over to the mixed division. Let's take a quick look at the pools. Your guys as good as mine is how these pools are going to shake out. I mean, does anybody have a great sense of this? I mean, I think even like the most serious follower of mixed division ultimate could be like, okay, I got all my picks made for pool play, and they're going to be like 50% wrong. I feel like that's how things tend to go in this division. So I don't really want to go through every single pool. Let it be said, though, that I think it's easy to find upsets here. I've got Hybrid over Austin Disco Club. I've got a bunch of craziness in Pool D. I still do have Shane winning that pool. So, yeah, I guess I think I want to just get us straight to our quarters picks, simply because we could kind of talk about how things shook out for us in pools along the way. So here we go. As you can see, I'm not even going to try to read them all off because it's like too much variance. But we all have BFG. We all have hybrid. We all have shame. And that's about where the agreement runs out. We all have dragon.
We all have dragon and red flag as well. Red flag too.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good. So no surprises there. Those have been clearly the best teams during the regular season. Maybe we should talk about some of the sort of more surprise stuff. Pod practice guys, you have Tower making it to quarters. Is that just the Robin Fennig effect, or you got something? You've been doing some thinking about it.
You know me too well. Yeah, big Robin Fennig fan here. So I believe in her ability to carry them to a quarters appearance.
It's been done before.
It's been done many times before.
It's true. Let's see, Keith. You have we both have Rally making quarters. So why do you like Rally getting through?
I think that this Rally team is going to prove to be talented more than I think people expect. They've been to nationals before. This is not some team that's going to be surprised to be there. And I think AMP was really damn good. And I think that you're going to find that out when Rally shows up to nationals. And you're like, oh snap! This is the team that didn't just beat AMP, but like controlled that game. I think they have a really tough draw in their pool, but I think they're going to prove to be a really strong team. They have some great vets. The word I've heard about the way that Alan Kolick is playing is that he's like found the time machine. Like he turned back the clock.
Oh, really?
If like Alan Kolick and Sammy Smalling come out and are just balling, like I think that's a very real possibility for this team, which again skews I think a bit towards the older side. But I think that's going to play well for them to be really seasoned. So I like them. And I'll note, you haven't noticed this yet, but I'm the lone dissenter on Disco Club. I went on the Disco Club fade here, and that's part of my Rally pick, is that I have Rally finishing above Disco Club in pool play. I have them finishing third in pool play and then losing in pre-quarters. So that's also part of my calculus here is that I like Rally to do well. And I'm a little light on Disco Club, so that adds up to Rally making it further.
A little light, not even getting them to quarter spot. Who do you have them losing to in pre-quarters, Keith?
Quinn says goodbye.
I have them losing.
Hi, Quinn.
I have them. I have them losing to Dragon. So I mean,
okay.
Fault me if you must for not getting there, but if you got, I've got to match up with Dragon in pre-quarters. So that's a really tough matchup. I could have kind of bought into the idea of them bouncing back on Sunday. And it'd be after being a little shell shocked maybe at their first day at Club Nationals, but when you got to play against Dragon, that's going to be a tough ask.
So you got Exist winning that pool over Dragon?
I do. Look, number one, I'm beholden to mixed chaos. If there's one thing I know better than which team is the best, I know that it's going to be madness. So you got to find the spaces. What's that?
No Krebs at Nationals.
Oh my God. What? That was a huge basis for our pick.
Tough situation for all of you picking Exist.
What happened? This was
Charlie with the insider information.
This seems
so I
illegal.
actually knew. So Jolie Krebs is abroad this semester.
She's overseas.
Right.
Yeah. I was under the impression that she was going to fly back. Maybe that's still going to happen. I didn't actually hear that. That was just like the person who was telling me about this. It felt kind of implied that Krebs is going to be at Nationals. But you know what? I'm still riding with it. I think this Exist team has some really dangerous players. I think Abby Chang's playing extremely well. Oliver Chartok. They have Axel Ogami Contreras now. Kara Sieber is back to playing well for them as they picked up Rita Fetter this year. Emily Barrett's actually healthy this time around. Like there's a lot going well for this team. So I think it's yes, losing Krebs is obviously a blow, but I think that they can pull this off. And we've seen Dragon Thrust falter, so somebody's got to be there to pick that up. And I'll take Exist to be that team.
I'm just Exist coaches reporting that to Ulti World reporter Josh Katz. She's abroad in Europe and I guess not making the trip. Maybe there's some gamesmanship and it's all a deke, but I doubt it. It's a tough blow for Exist.
Would have been nice if you would have let us know that.
Yeah, interesting that you withhold that information until now.
I will note my picks were made before this was made clear on Friday, so I found out Friday.
I can vouch for that.
My picks were made middle of last week. So we're going to get this. We all have this hybrid red flag matchup. That's going to be pretty interesting. I didn't take a closer look at subscriber picks. Mixtape getting through. Interesting. I'm not sure I see it this year. That team's a little too young, but they got the name. That's for sure.
Tyler S making the subscriber picks this time around, and maybe a little, honestly, outside of the mixtape thing, it's a little tame, right? This is basically your top seeds going through.
It's true. All right, let's go to the semis.
To come.
Let's take a look at our semis picks. I've got BFG and Shame, Dragon and Red Flag. Keith has BFG Dragon, Slow and Hybrid. Pod Practice has Disco Club, Shame, Exist, and Red Flag. And subscribers have BFG, Mixtape, Dragon, and Disco. Obviously, Pod Practice wanting to change that Exist pick right now.
We were riding that Krebs train pretty hard.
Looks like Mike is going to be an observer at
you never know. I think
at your local tournament soon.
Put the orange on.
So let's see. No BFG for you guys. What's the decision there? They've been the best team this season.
Joey Wiley fanboy here is kind of it.
Mike just picks one player that he kind of likes and just rides their team the whole way.
They've had good results. And I like an upset. The mixed division is crazy. I feel like the weirder the picks, maybe the more likely that they come to fruition.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just kind of, put it in the random number generator and let's go.
Let's see.
I'm not seeing it. BFG is like one of the few things that feels consistent in the
I will
mixed
say
division.
on we are also huge Ambrose fans, so I do feel like Lucas could be the best player in mixed at Nationals.
That's super legit.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I really like BFG. Let's see. I have Keith. You have with Slow in your semis. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, I'll give you my rundown here. So I've Slow beating Lawless in pre-quarters after finishing second in Pool D, and then beating Exist. And there's no Jolie Krebs. I don't know if you guys heard. So how is Exist possibly going to take down Slow? I mean, these two teams are obviously super familiar with each other. In their most important matchup, they played twice at regionals. One time Exist blew Slow out. I think they were locked in at that point to make nationals, so I'm not putting any stock in that game. When they played prior, Exist won 15-13, so it was super close. I think there's not a lot separating these teams. There are a couple of USA players missing on either side throughout the course of the season to impact their results when they play their pro championships. But there's been some ceiling with the Slow team. They do have the win over Disco Club. They've been a little volatile this year. They've been up and down, but this is a team that's beaten Dragon Thrust, that's beaten Hybrid, that's beaten Disco Club. I think that there's a real potential ceiling here with them, and they have another team with some really talented vets, but that are playing super well. I mean, Piers McNaughton, Amber Cinecrope. I mean, these are names that we've been talking about for a long time. Peter Pryle, but they're still doing it. They're still putting up numbers, and then they're getting some players who've really stepped up. Yuga Zhao is a huge addition for them. I think could be a potential all-club player when all is said and done. They have Jack Carrero, Topher Davis. I think that there's a reason that I like this team so much coming into the year, and now I think they're finally going to come around at the right time at Nationals.
All right, well, that's a well-made case.
I also don't have Shame. That's because I have Dragon and Shame. So I have Dragon, Disco Club, and Shame all in the same section of the bracket. I think Shame is super good, but I'm a big believer in Dragon overall this year. And I think the Dragon fumbles in pool play and then turns around and plays exceptionally down the bracket is like classic mixed division top seed tomfoolery. So this feels ready made.
I mean, you need all that chaos to happen.
Feels ready made.
You need all that chaos to happen in pool play in order for that to kind of shake out. Like I have Shame beating Rally. Like that wasn't even a hard pick to make.
Yeah.
I have Dragon over Slow. I'm also very high on Dragon this year. So yeah, I mean,
how did we all had the Hybrid and Red Flag, but I'm the only one who picked Hybrid to come out of that. Why is I feel like these two teams like are both crazy athletic teams that are huge playmakers, and Hybrid just better at that.
I'll let Mikey go, and then I'll say my piece.
Hybrid has those two guys from Michigan that I honestly don't know their roster too well. I know they've had a lot of success, but this came down to the fans of the pod practice. Red Flag had some of our gear and showed it off on Instagram. So we're rooting for Red Flag.
Honestly, I'm kind of going off of like strong region effect here. I think that Red Flag has been a little overshadowed perhaps because they're in the same region as BFG. And I like Hybrid a lot. I won't be surprised if they win that game. But when you look at Red Flag's results, Keith, the only losses they have this season are to BFG. That's it. They have a great team.
They're really good.
Their team is they're not far off from being the Canadian mixed national team. So
to be clear, I think they're really good. Like I think they might be the fifth best team at the tournament. I think they're a team that could win a title. I just think Hybrid is a tough matchup for them to face.
I agree, but I think that Red Flag's a tough matchup for Hybrid to face. So
fair.
I think it's a good game. Yeah, you consider that, kids?
A little reverse from Charlie there.
I think Hybrid is the favorite, but I think Red Flag is going to get the upset. Is basically how I'm looking at the game. And I just think finals. Like iron sharpens iron. So all right, yeah, let's take a look at our finals picks. Here we go. Subscribers have mixtape to semis, by the way. All right, 3 BFG picks from Charlie, Keith, and the subscribers. I've got Dragon. Keith has Hybrid. The subscribers have Disco Club, and the pod practice has Shame and Red Flag making the finals. I'm sensing a pattern in the pod practice picks. We'll see if it continues. So yeah, Dragon, Red Flag. I won't be shocked if Red Flag makes the final, but I just think that this is like this is a Dragon year for me in a lot of ways. I love the roster this year, love the talent. So that's why I went that way. And then BFG's just been the best team, so I'm kind of sticking with that. Keith, your thoughts on your picks?
Yeah, I mean, I have BFG over a Dragon team that I just spent a bunch of time hyping up. I just think BFG's really, really good. They're super disciplined. They're deep, and they have some really crazy defenders. I think Christian Foster's also played super well for them this year, in addition to Ambrose and some of the names that you've kind of come to know from BFG. But I think that they can overpower even a Dragon team that I like a lot. I think I could talk myself into Dragon being in finals or even winning this thing. But I have a lot of respect for BFG. And on the other side, I have Hybrid over Slow. I think that could be a blowout. I think Hybrid is also very good. I mean, to me, Hybrid, Dragon, and BFG are the true title contender team still.
Yeah, I think on paper, I would also say BFG, Dragon, and Hybrid are the best mixed teams. But I went with some favorites here. Obviously, Shame. We have some loyalty for some reason to them, and then Red Flag. Shout out Podnar and what was the? Kinsey, you remember who else was wearing our reversible? I forget what her name is, but
I don't remember the name exactly.
Hey, we appreciate
that kind
the
of
support.
loyalty.
Yeah,
and also it's like real recognize real. Like if you just like know a good podcast when you see it, a good Ultimate player when you see it, you're probably pretty good. And that's
exactly.
Hey, if you get a deep look reversible, we won't forget your name on the pod.
Right.
We'll shout you out.
I'm sure Darkstar was repping like for a deep penny that one year.
All right, and then let's see. BFG and Disco Club for the subscribers. I mean, it's plausible. Disco Club might be that good. I think you can't count it out. Even though, Keith, you faded them. You don't even have them in quarters, Club. Keith. That's criminal. I feel like they're going to make you look really bad. I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean, I will say I respect the talent. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they make a deep run, but there's definitely the potential for other teams like regionals. We have seen how many times have we seen top teams go to nationals and stumble, right? Like teams that you feel like you're locked in. Yeah, Disco Club's good, but we also have not seen this group play together in elite competition. That I think that they didn't play the same strength of schedule as all the other teams. They didn't have all the national team players coming in and out. I think it makes sense that they had a great regular season. And I think they're going to get to nationals, and it's going to be challenging to navigate that as a new group.
If they lost 15-10 to Shame and took the second bid out of the South Central, I'd be right there with you. But the fact is, they didn't do that. They beat Shame, and we've heard Shame players in the chat say, "Yes, Disco Club is really good." So what? We'll see how it plays out. Maybe you're going to be an observer, Keith. Maybe you're going to be an observer. All right, let's take a look at our champion picks. Here we go. 4 different picks. Crazy. I have BFG. Keith has Hybrid. Pod Practice has Shame. Subscribers have Disco Club. I don't really feel like I need to justify picking BFG. They've been the best team all season, and I think they're just going to continue to show that like they were the obvious pick. Keith, you've got Hybrid.
Boring.
We've seen those teams have some crazy games against each other. Why do you like Hybrid here?
I think that they have, like, before, I feel like this team superpower was just like, we're just big, fast, strong. We're gonna, Mark Witten's gonna throw 45 hucks, and Sarah Nitz and Nathan Chiappo are just gonna go get some of them, and that'll be enough. But I feel like they've got enough other pieces now. I think they've solidified the rest of their game. Before it felt like it was really kind of Kat McGuire and Theo Shapitsky carrying the water for the let's not just juice the ball every time crew. But now they've got Rachel Mast, and they've got Owen O'Neill, and Aaron Bartlett is also playing super well. So I think that they've got enough of the other pieces, and they've got some really, really good defenders individually. I think that's just enough. Plus, they're so familiar with BFG. I think that they're the team best suited to try and take down a BFG team that I think otherwise is essentially the best team. But I think Hybrid is going to be the one that's a tough matchup for them.
Quick note, Jolie Krebs is officially not even on the roster for Exist for the postseason.
All right. Well, that's my bad then.
You guys got Shame. Besides being a Colorado team, what do you like for their chances to win the whole thing again?
I think I like their ability to turn it on when it matters as well. Like they have some comebacks where they just go on these ridiculous runs against teams, and I would hope that they feel that early you're in games at nationals and find it within themselves to just go on these massive runs against teams, because I think they have the ability to be play way superior to other teams just based on the talent. And obviously I'm biased because I know a lot of the people on the team, but I think very highly of those players. And I think when they want to, they can figure out how to really crush teams.
You don't want to be up 14-11 on Shame. They'll find a way.
They got that Albuquerque dog in them. That's what I know. Yeah. And the subscribers taking Disco Club first year team. It's been a while since we've seen something like that. So
that'd be something.
See. That'd be something, guys.
Look, Shame. Can I just say, Shame is incredibly talented. They're on paper a super team in the league with the other championship contenders, but like we're like 3 years removed from this being White Claw as a halftime team, and now we're talking about them as back-to-back champions. Like they just summited the mountain. What's the motivation for this team to continue to bust their butts as hard as they did last year?
You are
the
Keith.
title. I don't know.
You know how to have a good time.
We're clipping this. We're putting it into their Slack, and you're the motivation.
Oh, they're already. I'm sure Aubrey is 10 steps ahead of you right now.
Get ready, because Shame highlight video, you're the intro, Keith. And that's all the motivation that they need.
Back-to-back champ.
I need to be as many intros as possible. Yeah,
it's going to be you and them chugging White Claws pre-finals.
In my Observer jersey.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, the picks are in the books. The points will be scored. You can make your own picks in the Beat Charlie Challenge. Go over to the website and put in your picks for quarter, semis, and finals. If you beat me, you got a chance to win. What do they win, Keith? Ultra World Prize Pack subscription, something like that.
Yeah, both the Ultra World Prize Pack subscription. That's what's on the line.
All right. So enter. This is the year, though, Keith. I'm gonna get perfect picks. This is the year.
Whoa,
it's going to happen once. I did just win officially the disc golf picks competition for the entire season against something like 100 subscribers.
Wow.
I had a stretch in the middle of the season where I picked a winner of the tournament on both divisions like 5 times in a row, and I just pulled away from everybody. So I'm trying to harness that energy into Club Nationals.
I think that means you're due for a downturn.
Regression to the mean, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, Kins, when are you going pro in disc golf?
I don't know. Now that was more of like an injury thing. Now that I'm healthy, we're back.
Now you're back. No more disc golf.
Full ultimate train. That was just to keep me entertained while I couldn't sprint.
This is part of why disc golf is in a downturn right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
thank you so much, guys.
I'll be there.
There you go. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Great having you, and keep up the good work with Pod Practice. I assume people can get it wherever they listen to their podcasts.
Yep. Come say hi at Nationals. We'll hand you a sticker. Thanks, guys.
Keith, we got to get some cool deep look stuff. We're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
All right. Alex Atkins, Mikey Lund. Earlier, Quinn Finer with us here on Deep Look. Someone's going to become an observer. We'll find out who after this weekend. We'll be right back.
Whether you're gearing up for a TCT event or Summer League, YCC competition or Masters, Breakmark can help your team get kitted out. Their bundles get you everything your team needs, and each one comes with a free reversible and 5-panel hat. Whatever your game, Breakmark.com is the place to get your team ready this season.
Welcome back to Deep Look. Picks are in the books. Keith, it's funny. Obviously, the Pod Practice guys picking all of the Colorado teams to win. They're plausible picks. They are very reasonable, plausible picks in all 3 divisions.
Yeah, it turns out Colorado has a good ultimate. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I guess all 3 of those teams have won championships post-COVID. So
Also true.
Yeah. I feel like we haven't done exactly this exercise, of course, against like Pod Practice and the subscribers, but I feel like I've never seen more diversity of picks than we have this year. Like even you and me, Keith, normally we are going to be aligned on 3 of 4 semifinalists in every division. And we didn't even come that close to that this year. I think it's a sign of just like how good the competitive balance is right now in Club Ultimate. I just feel like it's better than it's ever been.
There's 3 things. 1, that it is that. 2 is, as I said earlier in the show, I think this year we feel less sure about who teams are. We have fewer data points to make judgments off of. And so I think that's leading to higher variance because it's less clear what teams' identities are and who really has it. It just feels like there's less to go off of this year, and that's leading to more potential outcomes seeming likely. The last thing is that we're wish casting. We're hoping that it's going to be like this. I think it's a little bit of that too. We're hoping for every division to feel like quarterfinals is just sparkling with potential that we could have upsets everywhere. And so maybe it's a little bit of wish casting too.
I think we're going to have a fun year. Even if it goes chalky, I think games are going to be tight and it's not going to be a snooze fest. So looking forward to a great weekend of competition. It all starts Thursday, broadcasting beginning first thing in the morning Pacific time on Thursday, and then we got pool play all day long, pre-quarters and 2 rounds of quarters on Friday, semifinals all day on Saturday, and then the finals coming to you on Sunday. Every single game streamed live on ultiworld.com. You do not need an ESPN Plus subscription. You do not need an ESPN 3 subscription. You just need an Ultiworld subscription. So sign up for your event pass or your subscription today and get ready for all the action from Club Nationals. It is time for our mailbag question of the week. What do we got, Keith?
Our mailbag question this week comes from our own Patrick Stegemeller, who asked in the Discord, which player is most due for a championship right now? Who doesn't have a club or college title to rest on? Who are we waiting on? Who's like really put it in and deserves to get one now? What do you think? Who's the most due?
Most due. I'm gonna look at some lists so I can like kind of think about it a little bit. Did Joe White win a title with Carleton when he was like a freshman?
I believe so. I'm just going off memory here, but I think so.
He feels like he could be a little due, even if that's true. How about like I'm not going to say one that I know that you're going to say, so I'll leave that be.
Oh, no, his freshman year was 2017.
It was
2016. I'm wrong. Maybe.
A lot of these players
when they bombed out.
No, she won a college title. How about Robin Fennig? Robin Fennig's got to be
good
due.
one.
She's never won a title, I'm pretty sure.
Noise got pretty close.
Teams that made it to the very end. Yeah. I don't think it's happening this year either, but she's definitely due.
I'm. How about one step over from Joe White? How about somewhat friend of the show, enemy of the show, Pavel? I mean, how many times has this guy been right in the orbit of winning those big games? And also somebody who's like Robin, a value community member who like does stuff beyond just playing and competing. So shout out to Pavel. He definitely feels like he's been toiling trying to get there and hasn't been able to get there yet. I was also thinking Dawn Colton. Has she won anything?
Any of the North Carolina Phoenix players, like, yeah, I mean, obviously college-wise, yeah, I know you're joking, but like any of the players who are not on UNC, Raffy Hayes, Lindsay Sue, yeah, Lindsay Sue, Raffy Hayes, did Michael Ing ever win a title? Did he won with AMP, right?
He won with AMP, yeah.
How about any of the Dragon players not from the Dragon like winning three-peat era? Like who?
Like came. The problem is those players, like, have they been there like putting in the work for all this time since then? You know, like Like
been grinding
Dylan
enough?
DeClercq,
Is that what you're asking?
maybe after that. Jason Cheetah.
Yeah.
Jason Cheetah on a Minnesota team that won actually. Or no, they didn't win. They lost, right? Or no, they beat Harvard.
Minnesota
They beat Harvard.
won,
They did win.
but I don't know if Cheetah was on that team when they won with Yacht and Oscar, the college title.
Okay, we're around. There could be somewhere in that zone.
Oh, here's a good one. This was a little helpful hint from our producer, Mark Lynn. That journeyman, like player on great teams, has played on Truck, Ring, Revolver, and Pony, and has not won a title. That's pretty due.
This is like reverse Patrick McCaw. Like we're really we're digging to the back end of the roster here.
Let's see if they've got anything from the chat. Not really.
Me.
There's some reference to 2017. You're due?
I'm due to win this picks competition. Let's get it.
You're not due if you just make bad picks all the time, Keith.
Yeah, I've beaten you a few times here.
That's a fun one to think about, though. There's people we're not thinking of who are like totally due, who are probably listening to this and going, "Man, I've been playing this game for 10 years. I've been playing so good, and I still haven't won one. I deserve it." So much of it is just about playing on a good team, though.
Look at. I bet you probably maybe the Disco Club roster is so young that they don't qualify, but like nobody wears a chip on their shoulder quite like people from the Texas Ultimate community. So I'm sure they feel overlooked and slighted, and now I probably added to that. But everybody else is showing them crazy love, so they could be as a group, that community. You throw the whole community in there.
JAZ says Johnny Bansfield is due. That's a good answer.
That's a good one.
Someone said Mac Hecht as well, but obviously Hecht won a college championship with Brown in 2019. So maybe that doesn't count, but college and club are different beasts, Keith. All right. That is going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keith, do you have any little last things you want to point out? Any like sneaky upset spots?
I don't know. I'm looking at the Beat Charlie Challenge to see who the favorites are. I'll say that it's Fury, BFG, no surprises there. Machine, the favorite in the men's division. So
interesting.
This could be a spicy nationals.
It's going to be a fun one. Well, it all starts on Thursday. Join us for wall-to-wall coverage of the Club National Championships with a subscription or an event pack. For Keith Rayner, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. Hey, we'll be back with you. If you're a subscriber, we're going to be doing some live deep look out the back segments during Nationals. So when things get interesting, we'll pop in the evenings and break it all down for you. So we'll see you then. Until Thursday, for Keith Rayner, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long. It's time for Club Nationals.
Shout out to the Liberty. Brought it home to the city. Crazy series.